Hey everyone, Eddie here from the marketing team. With GST right around the corner, we thought why not revisit some of the best talks from GST last year. The theme of which was how organisations can be future ready, a topic that is still relevant today. If you still haven't got your tickets for this year's event, well, what are you waiting for? The link to secure your tickets will be in the show notes below. Come and learn from some of the best in the industry when it comes to key account management and some of the leading industry experts who will give you different perspectives on how to approach the art and science of sales language. Enjoy!
So what do we do when we embark on a change and transformation journey? Well, often, in my experience, it's quite a secretive program or project, and a few of the leaders go on an offsite, maybe with a management consultancy, and have a discussion about, well, we need to drive change, we need to change the organisation. And there's nodding, and then we go. We say, okay, let's start to change the organisation. Off we go. And the people come second. So if you think of a sailing analogy, where the boat is the organisation, and the people and the crew are part of the team that need to be taken on the journey, the boat has gone sailing off from the harbour side, and the crew are all left standing on the side. And maybe as the boat gets a few miles offshore, well, then we'll send an email, we'll have an all-hands call, we'll have a fireside chat, and we'll tell the people about the organisational change and expect them to catch up. The challenge is, however fast those people swim, they're not going to catch that boat up. Some might drown, and some may stand on the sideline and never jump in the first place. What we actually need is the boat and the crew working together in one direction so that we are sailing in a common direction. Well, where do you start? Do you start with the organisation? Do you start with the people? You need to do both. We all talk about needing to run and operate now and build for the future, and we need to do it both at the same time. How do we ensure that we have both the company and the people, back to our sailing analogy, speaking a common language and sailing boat and crew in the common direction?
Royal Mail, of course, is a legacy organisation. Everybody knows Royal Mail, right? The photo on your left was taken last week. Clearly it wasn't, it was the week before. It's not crazy. But the reality is at Royal Mail, we've got a real challenge when it comes to change. Because the task that we've got as part of the infrastructure of the UK is to change absolutely everything, whilst staying exactly the same. Because we're a regulated business. We're a business that has to deliver to all of your houses 6 days a week, delivering the letters and the parcels under what's called the Universal Service Obligation. And that's a real privilege. That gives us a network, or forces us to have a network. That means we have to cover the UK, single price, one price goes anywhere pricing that doesn't exploit the people that can't afford to use postal services, and so on and so forth. But that also means that Royal Mail might carry the notion of not being particularly innovative. Well, I'll just give you a little timeline, and there is people in the room, I will say, that were here at the beginning when Royal Mail opened, right? Who actually worked there on day one. They didn't really. Sorry, Mike, wherever you are. Yes. So look, way back in 1516, Henry VIII's knight Brian Tuke, the first master of posts, establishes the key postal towns across the country and builds a formal postal network, first in the world. It's amazing, isn't it? Now, I've skipped a bit, right? So I have jumped a little bit, because otherwise we'd be here all day over the 500 odd years of history. 1711, the Post Office Act paves the way for a unified postal service across Scotland, England and Wales. That might not sound very innovative, but again, one of the first in the world. Ireland then joined in 1808, so a little bit of time passed again. So jumping ahead a bit, 1840, the world's first adhesive postal stamp, the penny black, is launched. Queen Victoria appears on it. 68 million are used in the first year. Now hold that thought a minute, 68 million. This was innovative. Nobody had done this before. This was groundbreaking technology of the time. 1968, First and second class letter services are introduced. Again, the first in the world. It's good, right? 1990, Royal Mail Parcels is rebranded as Parcelforce. Huge investment. Why was that? That was to account for the adjustment in the way that people were using postal services, starting to send goods, predominantly to businesses, around the country. Introducing online tracking, the construction of national and international sorting hubs. This sounds really, really boring nowadays, doesn't it? But back then, that was innovative. 2006, online postage launches, allowing you, the general public, to pay and download and print your labels and buy postage from us. This is another huge challenge that we come up with working for Royal Mail, is many people still think we're the post office. Of course, we're not. We're not the post office. The post office, for many, many years, we were part of the same organisation, of course we are, but today, for us, the post office is a retail organisation that happens to sell some of our services. 2014, Royal Mail Tracked 24 and 48 is launched, introducing a tracking of parcels across the UK. Now, this is not a product that is sold under our universal service obligation. These products were designed. In fact, my job at Royal Mail largely was to write the strategy for those products and bring them to market. It now makes up well over half of our parcel volumes and over half of our revenue. And just this year and last year, 2 new mega hubs are opened, one in the Northwest, one in the Midlands, capable of processing up to 150,000 items an hour. Now, for all of you that have got no context of what that is, it's a lot, right? A lot. By far and away the biggest processing capacity of any delivery company in the world. So it's amazing, and it continues for a company that is not innovative. This is all of the stuff that we do all of the time and we've got carried on, and these are continual improvements which is there, designed with our customers in mind. Third box thinking, Phil, drives a lot of what we think about what we do. And clearly I'm not expecting you to read any of this. The point being that change is absolutely constant, all whilst staying exactly the same, which is quite difficult.
I want to tell you a story of how I got into AI ethics and its governance. So it all began, of course, with an AI application. What you see in the screen is an AI application called Sales Choice. And what I have Dr. Cindy Gordon here. The name is mentioned. Dr. Cindy Gordon happens to be the CEO of Sales Choice in Canada. And she brought Sales Choice to us. We looked at Salesforce, we looked at Sales Choice, we looked at another vendor, and we onboarded this at my previous job. What this tool really did was it took a defined set of win factors and categorized all the opportunities by individual reps into 3 ratings, if you can see them, A, B, and C, on the probability of winning. So all the opportunities were ranked A, were liable to win much faster than the Bs and the Cs. The reps would have some guidance. Instead of going willy-nilly and checking all the opportunities, they could start off with the A's, finish all the A's, and go into the B's and the C's. And I would be remiss if I did not give Dr. Cindy Gordon credit, because she's a global AI expert and she was my coach, guide, and mentor during my thesis on ethical AI that Phil referred to shortly. So the next thing that happened on this story was one of our senior sales leaders, and we'll name him John Smith for now, wasn't really convinced that Sales Choice was giving us the right output. He came to me and he said, Lenny, do you really think AI can do this? And this is, we're talking about 4 years ago. So I think AI was still coming into the market, but not in that big way. And he was like, what if the output is right? Are you telling me that I should guide my people and believe a piece of software? He was questioning, was this intelligence really ethical? He was skeptical all the way. The other thing that happened to me while I was doing funnily during the same period was I apologized to a chatbot. Yeah, that's correct. I apologized to a chatbot. It just happened so that, as most of you in the room here attend sales webinars, I did also attend a webinar, and then I received an email from a lady called Alexis Taylor. By the way, just a quick plug-in, all the images that you see here in my presentation throughout have been generated, AI generated with DALL-E 3. So you'll see them throughout my presentation. And this Alexis trailer was also generated by DALL-E 3. So you can see what big models can do in AI. Coming back to my story, long story short, Alexis really pursued me for a period of 6 months. She wrote consistent emails, was on point. The grammar was like really to point as well. And after 6 months, I had some pity and I said, Alexis, thank you for your patience and resilience in pursuing me. I've been really busy, but I understand. I'll go ahead and have an appointment with you. And lo and behold, there was an email quickly which came in and said, oh, Lenny, love your response. I'll get you in touch with Tom, who's my manager. And so the next day I had a meeting with Tom, the manager. And the first thing I asked Tom was, Tom, who is Alexis? I am really perturbed. She was brilliant. She was amazing. And guess what Tom said? He said to me, Alexis is a chatbot, Lenny. Boy, was I really floored. An unethical sales call, you call it?
So one of the challenges I've received when I came to board was, what's our ideal customer profile? What is ideal customer profile? So the challenge was articulated to me, we're a horizontal company, meaning our solution fits many industries. We have about 2,000 customers. We have extremely opportunistic sales. Who doesn't have this problem? And we need to double or triple sales productivity. So we can't be doing what we're doing. Who are the right clients to go after? How do we get more of them in the funnel? And how do we distinguish and focus sales on the right ones? And I use here, I hope my wife doesn't watch this video. My wife is a yoga teacher. And if she puts 3 weeks' salary together, she can step into Louis Vuitton and at best buy a scarf. However, she can keep the seller busy for an hour and a half, showing her every bag in the shop, whilst 20 potential customers with enough money in their pockets just pass by and say, he looks really busy. I'll just step over to Chanel, right? If Louis Vuitton could filter all yoga teachers married to me, they do it. So what is the ideal customer profile? So it was immediately I understood that the challenge or the solution will involve people. I need input from the best salespeople, best sales managers. I will, at the end of the process, need some buy-in. There'll be some data science, yes. Process redefinition, insights, maybe even compensation impact, and even technology involved. All that is in the mix of the solution. It will require some investment in terms of buying technology and time. It's going to become probably a new operational capability. So I'm going to put this word out there, operational capability, and I'll come back to it after the torture. New maturity curve and new mindset. That's Phil yelled at me when I didn't have this one. So what is ideal customer profile? If you Google it up, who is likely to buy, smoothly and on time, have a successful implementation, upsell, cross-sell, renew, and be a great reference? Don't we all want those type of customers? Yeah, that are retainable and we can sell and expand. What I've added to this mix is a meaningful new logo land, a meaningful expansion, and a rinse repeat motion that we can do it again and again and again across all geographies, across all countries, across all salespeople. What are the detractors of that? Sales opportunism. The seller in Louis Vuitton who cannot distinguish which customers are walking through the door. Lack of discipline. ineffective demand generation. If my demand generation engine pumps the wrong leads, those are the leads I have to work with. So it leads to wasted marketing dollars, unprofitable revenue. One of our biggest customers of Board International is UNHCR. UNHCR is the refugee agency of the United Nations. Can I tell my salespeople, go after non-profit organizations? You're going to make big bucks there? No. Also, the implementation of UNHCR was a nightmare because we never implemented process for a refugee agency. So it's a whole unprofitable revenue that at the same time we acquired this customer, maybe we could have acquired 5 others that would be much more easier to implement and expand. So wasted, and of course wasted time on lost deals and renewals. So all the good reasons why to focus your company on ideal customer profile.
Yeah, so in Causeway, and in part in the other companies that I've run, I don't really have any time for people who don't want to learn. So when it becomes to hiring, a key enabler of mine, one of the first questions I asked is tell me something that you've learned to do in the past 2 years that you haven't never done before. And if people can't give me an answer to that question, you cannot come in. Yeah, and I've probably lost loads of good people over that, but I think I've probably gained many, many more. And this is about growth mindset. And why is that important? Because you live in a world of change. Yeah, everything around us is changing. You just look at the presentations that we've had today on AI and ethics and the world and what is happening in the world, the speed of change, and what's happening in change that Cathy talked about, and I know that Vladka will talk about. You know, if you asked Grant to tell you about his life in the last 3 years and the whirlwind of change that was, you know, and what he's done since then, right? So the world is changing really, really quickly. We don't have time. Yeah, so a growth mindset and people that you're bringing in, coupled with emotional intelligence, are 2 of the things that are amazing. So trying to be future ready is asking ourselves about, I want those people in my organization. I don't have the time to explain. Yeah, I want people who want to come in and are prepared to challenge themselves and challenge our customers and challenge our markets. Yeah, so that I can give them that unfair advantage that then means that as a company, no matter what the future throws at us, our resilience, our ability to think our way through those challenges is exponentially increased. Yeah. And, you know, if I put it to maybe people in the audience, you know, having done this for a long time, I left school at 16. I didn't go to university until I was 43, and I had the absolute fortune of meeting Phil, and I had the absolute fortune of being taught by, you know, some of the people that are in this room. And, you know, that inspired me to understand if you want to be future ready, you never, ever stop learning. Yeah? And if you haven't picked up a book in 12 months, I would say to you, go pick up a book. If you don't have a practice yet of reflecting, and I mean every day sitting back and going, what happened? Yeah, did it go the way that I thought that it would? What did I learn from today? And, you know, what am I going to think about? And what is amazing about that, when you start to do it and you start to write things down, the difference in the quality of your thinking is just huge. So for me, future ready, never ever stop learning. You know, never stop reading. And I promise you, I'm not somebody that reads 100 books a year. But I am somebody that takes an hour every single day, and I'll go onto LinkedIn because I want to know what Grant's doing and I want to know what John's doing. You know, I want to figure out what's happening in the world and how can I learn and how do I get my, you know, my teams and my people to learn. Reflection and building that period of reflection in on an individual level is absolutely huge, and we'll always make sure that, you know, that you are future ready, and if you're a leader, we'll continue to make sure that you're future ready.
Okay, Vladka, I'm so interested to hear your perspectives as a practitioner as well as an academic and sort of an expert on change. And we've heard about the emergent leadership. So what are your insights?
So I'll go back to emergent leadership model because this is the heart of the management shift approach, which is known as the how of the big shift from old paradigm based on command and control to new paradigm based on people, purpose, collaboration. And that is based on years of interdisciplinary research. And I see the world through these 5 levels. So as Cathy mentioned, there are 5 levels that our individual mindset goes through, but there is also a corresponding organizational culture at every level, which is characterized by specific thinking patterns, language use, leadership style, organizational culture, organizational outcomes, and we cannot skip the levels. It is also very highly relevant to sales professionals, because I map those 5 levels to sales drivers, to customer centricity, and 32 other areas. Anything you can think of, give me a challenge, I will map the 5 levels to that particular issue, problem, whether it's individual, whether it's organizational or societal, because we know from neuroscience, with our thinking, with our behavior, we are spreading the ripples, and with our mirror neuron brain cells, we pick up the moods and emotions of people around us, and then we operate at that level. So, coming to your questions, how do we get future ready? We get future ready by shifting individual leaders, employees, and entire organizational culture to level 4, occasionally level 5. I can briefly say a little bit more about the levels just to put it in the context. So level 1, lifeless mindset, apathetic culture, not much gets done. There's a lot of toxicity, fear, blame, worry. It's really not a good place to be. Level 2, reluctant mindset, stagnating culture. People do a minimum they can get away with just to get a paycheck. So they bring their body to work, their heart and mind stay at home. Level 3, controlled mindset and orderly culture. This is command and control, micromanagement. We do what we are told to do. And this is where majority of organizations are. And this is where sales is driven by numbers. So just sell to meet the spreadsheet numbers, regardless of people and what they want and what customers want, etc. So we need to go through this big shift, what I call the management shift. So we help leaders. We shift the sales mindset, we shift organizational culture from level 4, where the mindset is enthusiastic and culture is collaborative. And this is where magic happens, and I'm delighted to have Cathy now is one of our business partners, because she has and her team in SAP experienced this magic and achieved the breakthrough. So the keywords are trust, transparency, purpose, collaboration, working on something much bigger than ourselves. And this is where all the numbers go up. Sales numbers, innovation, engagement, staff retention, everything improves. We are really, really purposeful, and we want to make this world a better place. And occasionally we can reach level 5, where we have unlimited mindset and limitless culture. This is where highly innovative teams work day and night on some amazing innovations. So everything we do within Management Shift Solution is about helping leaders, organizations to shift to level 4 and occasionally tap into energy of level 5. And we have various tools and processes I developed over years, because as you introduced me, Phil, I'm a kind of a hybrid person, academic and management consultant and a coach and etc. And a few other hats I'm wearing as well. So a long answer to question, future ready. Organizations, future-ready leaders are level 4, occasionally level 5 leaders and organizations.
I'm interested to know, in terms of future-ready and future-proofing businesses, what are each of you doing to ensure repeat customers, to ensuring that the customer journey doesn't just end at that point of the contract being signed? Because I think what this 1 year has taught us, where there is very little new business, is that the value of those customers and the customer life cycle needs to be nurtured and really grown. And for someone who's always been focused on new revenue, I'm really glad to see it, because I think it's been neglected. So interested to hear your thoughts.
Shall we ask Grant to maybe answer?
From the cruise industry, it's very different. We went through 2 years of being frozen, no revenue whatsoever. for 2 years on the books, and it's quite astonishing how the cruise industry even survived. Airlines got compensation from governments around the world, hotel chains, resorts, it's the same as well too. The cruise industry didn't. We had to go billions and billions in debt just to stay afloat for ourselves. But then what we've seen now is, with the rise of cruise coming back, it's who has taken care of their customers. So it's been a massive shift in the dominance of where the customer is going to go spend their money. And knock on something, Royal Caribbean has been there. And I attribute that back to our philosophy of the customer must always come first, whether it's the end customer or our primary customer is our travel agents. And we are diligently loyal to them. And even through the pandemic, when most cruise lines shut down, you couldn't even call a cruise line to get through to them. We were there. Our entire sales force, he's sitting right here as well too, Sean, my right hand, who I pulled from the sales force to be sales transformation with me, they were all on the phones just to be on the phone and listen to a travel agent cry. Literally. Moms, dads, brothers, sisters, throughout the pandemic, losing their business left and right. How are we going to survive? Well, you could categorize that that's not sales, but it was the relationship. It was the trust. So we kept our sales force. We scaled down, but we kept our sales force going. So back to a little bit about what both of you guys are saying, it is the trust and it is a relationship. But I will also tell you, before we went on the master's program, contracting used to be difficult. The relationships used to be difficult. But now that we have a different way of learning of how do we behave, how do we work, how do we create a winning value proposition together, our whole account management process now is not led from Royal Caribbean. It's led the other way. We actually go through to the customer first and start with a transparent blank sheet of paper. What is it about you? What's your need? What does your customers want and need? Then how do we just might happen to have the products to serve you and support you? Now in full transparency comes with that. This is our standard contract. This is what we can do within the industry. And everybody sees it. The relationship is there. The trust is there. And so the buying experience has just been phenomenal. We are literally having the most incredibly record-breaking year we've had in 54 years. So, yeah. Actually, I'll take it even further. We hit target 3 months ago. So.
Targets are too low.
Shh, don't tell my boss.
Fantastic.
In terms of that innovation piece that you talked about, and being responsive to a customer's needs and how quickly that innovation can actually happen. In some industries, like obviously fintechs, it happens quite fast. In sort of like where I work in like corporate banking, not so much. And I suppose do you think that the speed of innovation and responsiveness to the market is having to sort of catch up with the sort of AI technology, or do you think there's time to respond to customers' needs?
It's amazing you say that. We had a great quote, and see if I can get this right, by our former chairman and CEO, Richard Fain, who really is the father of Royal Caribbean cruises globally. He said, the speed of change will never be as slow as it is today. And we all had to sit and think for that. We're like, okay, with great words of wisdom and power, and wherever you are up there, oh, wise one, thank you. And then he said, no, seriously, just think about it. The speed of change will never be as slow as it is today. So there's always the advent of a new tool. AI is just one. We sat in a great panel discussion with many of the leaders here in this room just the other day with the ISB, having this very discussion. How do we learn about AI and what should we be doing within our own organizations? Because most organizations have just sent out a blanket ban from IT saying, don't use it. But do you think how do you think that's going to go down with salespeople? Our salespeople are like this. Did you know I could do that? It just wrote all my emails. Okay, hang on. Was it a good email? What was it? But embracing that change process, that part of it, and just being honest and transparent enough to say, we know what we know what we don't know, but let's go on the journey together as a unified team with our customers along with us. So we're starting the discussions with AI. What is acceptable use? What is threats? What is ethics? How should we allow our people to use it because you can't stop them? what will be used on our systems. And then we already use, the funny thing is, I learned at the ISP just the other day, so many different things about, do you realize you're using elements of AI for years? You know, chatbot, text, WeChats, these different things that are going through. So it's not that we're just magically started today. We've been doing this for, I think AI, they said 70 years with the technology in some aspects of it. But it's how do we embrace that change? And how do we join it together?
We're all talking very lofty terms, and especially in the B2B type of business, at some point we get to contracting. And that's where all the organizational red tape comes up on the customer side, and the obviously the organization, everybody tried to protect themselves and become future ready in terms of protecting revenue and protecting whatever it is that you're selling. I come from the subscription world, I guess you are as well. The question is, how do you keep that? How do you keep at that level, that rapport that you established in such a nice way, all the way up to contracting, and that's when the red tape hits the road?
Yeah, I just want to build on a word that Vladka used, which is trust. And I think, how do you engender trust through your sales team during that sales cycle? Yeah. There are things that between two companies you'll just never get over, right? A company has that policy, you have that policy, and you know, you end up accepting things. But I think in the main, where trust has been established right the way through that sales cycle at all levels of the sales cycle, I think my experience is you get through those type of contract discussions really quickly. Whether that's in, you know, Cathy and I get experience of doing $100 million deals, or whether it's doing a 2 or a 300K deal, right, with a much smaller company, it's really a thing of trust. So what I've found engenders trust is having a team and execs in that company together in front of a customer, yeah, and make sure that you understand the layers. So back to your ICP work, but also the persona work of it. So when you bring persona, so to the vertical, you bring the role in a sense. When you bring the role and you understand the layers in that organization and you map those layers correctly, I think back to purpose and the purpose of the company, and you drive that in through your sales cycles, I think you build trust. That contractual position becomes much, much easier in the end, is my experience. And the ones that have been really difficult have been the hardest commercial negotiations, where right from day one, it's been price, and then you get to the contract stage and it's the exact same thing, because trust to the buyer doesn't matter. Yeah, and then the question for us is, do you want that type of customer? Do you want that type of business? But you know, that's a question for a different day.